Hello, I'm the Ferry, and you're watching Underground YGO with Spidey and Kisame.
What's up, guys? It's me. I'm a fearful for my life 24.
Why are you afraid?
Because there's a lot of, this neighborhood's kind of suspicious. Makes me feel uncomfortable.
It's like,
People just walk by, look at a lot of American flags, and that's just not a good sign for a black person. And today I'm doing a rant video. I'm ranting about rogue decks. I think rogue decks are dead.
Rogue decks?
Rogue decks are dead. The concept of what a rogue deck is dead. It does not exist today in Yu-Gi-Oh!
But don't they always like show those pie charts and they're like, this this 60% is rogue.
Oh, no, it's never that. It's always like 48% of the deck was Ryzeal, 30% was Malice, the next 10 was Blue Eyes, and then it's like 5.2% of like one or two decks that were like, oh, this guy played Light Swans, oh, this guy played Dinos, oh, this guy played the
I've seen it where it's like 40% is like MIA, whatever.
Oh, no. You know the miscellaneous decks? No. There's never that. They're always the smallest part of that pie chart. And then the thing is,
still there.
And then even in that, and this is what I'm getting to within my rant, when I'm talking about rogue decks, when I'm talking about a rogue deck, what comes to your mind what a rogue deck is? Like, how do you define a rogue deck?
I would dedicate it like as something that's like, that I wouldn't necessarily classify maybe within like the top 10 of the best decks in the format right now.
So it's just any deck that's not meta. That's not topping meta. That's a rogue deck to you.
Like, for me, it's like, you know how I would like, I feel like there's like the tier levels of like tier A, tier S. Like, I would probably maybe say anything like in what I would perceive as like tier B under, or something that I wouldn't expect. Like, I bet, okay, that I would consider rogue.
So somebody went into, if somebody went into a tournament and reached top 16, but they were playing like Ancient Gears, that would be considered a rogue deck to you, right?
Yes.
That's not what I think a rogue deck is.
Okay, what do you think a rogue deck is?
I think a rogue deck is a deck that isn't a uniform archetype or... Yeah, basically like a uniform archetype. To me, because that means that deck has an identity. A rogue deck means like you don't have an identity. You don't have a tribal bag.
So you're talking about like some kind of random ass like hodgepodge mess deck? We haven't seen that in like... No, that's what I'm getting ready to do, and this is where I kind of wanted to get into the discussion with this video. Rogue decks, when we first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Before archetypes started becoming a real prevalent thing around 2005. So you gotta think about that, when archetypes started becoming more like a uniform thing. Before then, it was really just rogue decks in general. Like you said, you had GOAT format, and it was just roll random decks, like Relinquish, it was GOAT Control. Like, there was just random decks, basically. So rogue decks were kind of essentially what Yu-Gi-Oh! was just a hodgepodge of different cards mixed together. Then as archetypes started coming along and getting introduced into the game, then that's when engines started coming across a little bit more. So then people started hybriding. That's when it went from rogue to hybrid. Because you would have a deck that might have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Like, I remember when you met me. You're talking about like 2008.
Yeah, I'm going through the timeline of how rogue decks have changed over time. Follow me, my boy.
Once 2009 came out, and then we had archetypes and everything, then
everything started becoming...
Rogue died then.
Oh, no, it didn't. Because then it was still more hybrid. Because
like what?
Even in today's
name anything I want to say post-synchro era, during synchro onward, or name any rogue deck that you recall that stood out during that time frame onward.
See, but no, that's what I'm trying to say, is like, I think the terminology of what a rogue deck was changed, is what I'm trying to get to. So I'm like, I think what you're saying isn't wrong. I'm just trying to educate and say that I think that as time went on, rogue decks stopped being rogue decks and it started becoming hybrid decks. It started just becoming engines and it started just becoming tech cards. Having just one or two different tech cards in a deck mean like, oh, this is a rogue deck because nobody plays that. And it's like, wait, no, I'm just like you. I just played one or two different cards that nobody plays because that's, that might be for my own personal reasons, or I just think that I like this card, or whatever the fact. It doesn't really mess up the deck balance. It might go from a 42 card deck to a 43 card deck, but these cards don't really throw off the consistency, but I like it. It doesn't really get in the way of the engine. It doesn't really help the engine. It doesn't help the consistency, but it doesn't really get in the way of it. And I just think that that's what people will say, oh no, that's a rogue deck. It's like, no, it's not really a rogue deck. Versus like nowadays, you can even go back maybe 1 or 2 years ago, where now Fiendsmith coming out. Every deck is incorporating the Fiendsmith engine. And now, would you say that's not a rogue deck because you consider rogue anything outside of the top tier meta?
Yes.
I consider rogue anything that's not a uniform deck. anything that's not like I'm this with that, or I'm just this deck, or like, to me, hybrid decks have almost become more meta, they're more accepted, because that's how Konami's making these new decks now. Like, I keep using Feastsmith as an example, but Ryzios are an engine, pretty much, but Ryzios have their own boss monsters. There's decks out there, there's, there's certain decks that don't have their engine focus or their inboard focus.
I'll say, alright, I'm going to use an example. Like my Teller Constellar deck, what would you classify that? Would you classify my deck as rogue, or would you classify...
That's uniform.
Alright, why would you say that?
Because the majority of that deck is all cards within a same archetype. Whether it be your engine cards and your inboard, like they're connected. That's fair. That's a fair argument. But the one thing I will say is, if you looked up any Teller Constellar deck, none would look like mine. Of course.
Mine would be 100% different than
because
whatever.
they outsource their engine to more efficient, more consistent engines that get to the inboard faster. Like, I would say, what's your engine is what, a 2-card combo or a 3-card combo?
It varies.
Because, like, I know most of these guys, they'll play their deck and they'll just have a 1-card combo. And then they'll play the 3 copies of the 1-card combo. Then they'll have 2 or 3 searches of 3 copies of those. So it's all just essential to get to that 1-card combo to pull out to the inboard. Mm-hmm. That's what most decks are nowadays. And I just feel like that is kind of like lost the art of what a rogue deck was. So to me, it made me feel like, quintessentially, rogue decks are just dead. Because of the fact of, like, only thing now that would make a deck rogue is... Because that's the thing, like, to me, to be rogue means to be different. That's why I say, like, you're not a uniform deck.
I don't agree to that, because it's just like, I feel like, you see, like, I don't know, my view is different from yours, because I would say rogue to me is going, like, you see, for me, it's like my favorite archetype in this game is Constellars. Constellars to Talonites, that deck uniform together is my deck. Like, it's always been ever since, like, fucking 12 plus years ago when they made this archetype. And to me, I have taken this deck through the mud, through fucking all these formats, you know, even when we were like in late formats, and where it's like I've dragged this deck and made it face everything, and I was just like, here we go. And in my opinion, to me, that is what made me at least feel like stand out as a rogue player, because for me, and I view my deck as a rogue deck, because my logic is I'm not facing, like, anytime I'm ever dueling anybody, I'm always going in the like, I want to say the expectations, like, knowing that, like, I'm going to be facing more higher end things and more modern day stuff than what I'm using. I also like using a deck like that because I'm always like, you don't know what to expect from me, because my deck is so dated and nobody uses it. So it's like one of those things where it's like, you know what I like? I like being like, when facing me, you might see like these ancient old cards and be like, I don't gotta worry. And I love that shit. I want you to let your guard down, even for a millisecond. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. And the thing is with me, it's like, I feel like little by little with me with Constellars, I feel like I'm very good with the deck. I feel like I'm very good. I feel like, but to me with Rogue status, I feel like it's, to me, using something underrated, using something that isn't common, something that's not high tier. I really don't care how you construct the deck, because if, like, let's just say, if I literally played Constellars, but I used it in an unorthodox way, mixing random nonsense just to get to point A to point B, I really don't think it matters. I think as long as you are confident using something underrated and using something that, and you make it good, I feel like that to me is rogue. For me, I feel like you're able to win with something extremely underrated and be extremely well. Because to be fair, like, how could I put this? Because I'm trying to think of a deck that you use that I would use as an example.
Super Quantums.
Yeah, because like you and Reggie both use that deck. It's like a deck like Super Quantums. Like,
you see what support they got?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, they got the black nigga now. That's why they got the nigga ranger. Ooh, we here now.
But like for me, it's like I feel like if, let's just say, you're using something like that and you get Magnus out and you win, I'm like,
But that's my thing. I love Madness, but I feel like the Super Quantums, like, they take too long to get to it. So once I figure out the way to do Dreadnought to go into Magnus, like, that's my new Magnus. So I can just throw that in any deck. And now Celtic Guardian has the Noble Knight of Celtic Guard of Noble Arms, and you can summon another one, go into Dreadnought, then go into Great Magnus. I can use a Celtic Guardian and make a Great Magnus. To me, that's like, this is what the game's about.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
You're like, the only rogue status is if you use a Celtic Guardian in your deck, then you're rogue.
That's
your logic.
No, and then also
it's like you use the most underrated. If you use the most like unhinged nonsense, then you get this like
if you
beautiful.
take Harpies and Solar Flare Dragon, that's like a fire tornado.
You're like, then you get this rainbow stupidity badge that I have.
But you're full of shit because you just said, I take my decks and I do all the unconventional cards that nobody else plays, and I want you to let your guard down so I can knock you the fuck out. What do you think I'm doing with Celtic Guardian? Just sitting there looking stupid? Just obnoxious Celtic Guard. Boy, you're obnoxious. No, I'm not.
You know what it is? Because I'll never be on this page with you. Because the thing is with me is that all my cards do something.
So do mine.
The rest of your engine, I'll throw you a bone and say, sure, buddy. Now, but I'm talking about Celtic Guardian as a whole. Even I would actually give you more respect if you turned around and was like, I only play base Celtic Guardian with Rescue Rabbit. If you said something like that, because
that's terrible.
Well, you think you're playing obnoxious Celtic Guardian, which is a shit vanilla with basically the
obnoxious does not a vanilla. He's
pretty much be. He pretty much be. he pretty much did nothing.
So marshmallows are nothing now.
Yes. Marshmallow sucks too. You think that would be like me?
You can't even negate it.
That would be like me turning around to you and try to like vindicate to the fucking whole universe that like DD Assailant was this like great synergy card in my deck. DD Assailant.
That's a tech. Yeah,
and it's not a good one.
Like a doctor. No, because see, the thing that you're getting into that I highly disagree with is that have you ever
every fucking video it's about this fucking card.
No, it is.
I didn't bring it up. You brought it up.
You did.
You brought it up.
It was you.
No, you brought it up. Because you were like, well, for me, this is how I do it. And I'm like, I heard his name.
No, man. What I'm saying is, I think that unconventional cards do help in today's game. And I think that a lot of new decks in today's game, and I'm telling you from experience, some decks play so fast, they're anticipating another deck that's just as fast. So when you play something that's unconventional, they have nothing for that. When you think,
you know what you're like?
oh my god!
Oh my god! You are one of those fucking 8-year-old kids that's just like that could have this meta, really good deck, but at the same time turn around and be like, yeah, I like Yugioh, I like Fiendsmith, I like all these really good, powerful engines. I use Flunderies. But I got my Egyptian God card. My Egyptian God card's a God card, and it could do all these things because, it's a God card. And I'm like, do you not know a God card sucks? That's what you're like. You're like one of these kids that think that back in the day a God card made them like this excelled individual.
No.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new Odeon cards? They're doing something.
I'm gonna say this. I have seen them. Visually, I like them. I do not read them. But I plan to.
They're pretty good.
Good. I'm happy to hear that because I actually genuinely want to try them because they're aesthetic. Shit's fire. But I'll say this. I don't know if I made my Q&A video and I name dropped this, but I moved. I'm in the process of a move.
Where are we?
You're in my dungeon. But it's
Hey guys, where do you fall on the rogue deck conversation? Because we're going rogue right now in this video. So, do you think a rogue deck is about a rogue? I think what you described is a rogue player. I think what I'm describing more is to the actual makeup of a deck. So which side of the pendulum do you fall on? Comment below.
The right side.
Let
the
us
cool
know.
Side.
Yeah, let us know what's going on.
The hot tattoo side.
His Instagram, along with my Instagram channel and all our personal social medias and Master Duel IDs are in the description down below, along with our Discord. Mean a lot if you check those things out. We got 2 previous videos. We'll
Look
see
how
you
nice
guys
and clear
next
we
time.
are now. No more fucking Vaseline.
Hey, this is Seno Kaiba. Listen, Kisame and Spidey, I just want to tell you something. You're both third-rate duelists with fourth-rate decks. Oh, and I play my Blue Eyes White Dinosaur.